Hi everybody. Now that you've been collecting customer data, now it's time to actually show you how we can use it. So today we're going to focus on learning 4 things about using your customer data. So there's a lot you can do with customer data. 4 things that I want to focus on this week are using your customer data for an email list, using it for a direct mail mailing list, using them to generate new promotions, and the last thing, which is probably going to be new to a lot of people, is using your customer data and mapping it out so you can visually see where your customers live, where your products were sold, and if there's potential for new customers based on where your current customers live. So this is probably going to be the most common way people use your customer data, and that is coming up with an email list and setting out bulk email. Some things you need to think about when you're doing bulk email is, number 1, never use your own business email system to send bulk email. That means if you're on Comcast will eventually block you or spam you from using your email address to send bulk email. Same thing with Yahoo, same with Gmail, same with AOL. What you don't want to do is you don't want your general email account to be blackmailed because you're sending bulk email out. So what I recommend to everybody is to use a third-party service to send bulk email. 3 of the most common ones I like to use: MailChimp.com. We actually use that for the Main Street Mountjoy email list. Constant Contact, and then another one called Vertical Response. Now these 3 are really good working with small lists. You can use them up to 10,000 people, 20,000 people if you want. Sometimes the pricing gets a little too expensive for a lot of small businesses. When I talk to small businesses though, most of their email lists are generally 1,000 or less. So what I like to recommend to people is try a MailChimp account. MailChimp does have some free services that they will offer up to a certain amount of emails on an email list. And if you are not going to be a very heavy email list user, MailChimp may be a good option for you. Before you sign up for anything, make sure you look at pricing. Each of these have different pricing structures, and you want to pick the pricing structure that's best for you. So if you have a large list and you only want to send 1 email a month, one service may be better than another one as far as pricing. If you have a small list and you want to send 4 or 5 emails a month, you have to calculate how many total emails that'll be in a month, and some of these are based on the number of emails you send per month. So please be careful when you're looking at pricing and pick the one that's best for you. So if you are going to use a list, what you want to think about doing is sending scheduled emails. If you get the Main Street Mountjoy email list, you know that every Monday around 9 a.m. is when I send out the email. If you don't get an email by 9:15 or 9:30, let me know. I want to make sure that you are still getting our emails. It's a good idea as a business to think about and pre-plan how you want to send your emails. Do it on one day of the week. Do it at the same time of the day, and if you want to do it once a month, do it on the 15th of the month, the 20th of the month, whichever day it is. Just come up with some kind of schedule that you can plan yourself, and you can schedule yourself to go ahead and create the email and schedule it out. All of these small email services generally do have some sort of scheduling that you can use, so you can write an email on Monday and not send it out till Wednesday or Thursday. I try and do the Main Street emails on a Friday, and then I schedule it to go out on a Monday. That way I'm not working in the office right at 8:50 trying to get the email out by 9 a.m. What you don't want to do with emails is you don't want to just be random. If you get into the habit of sending random emails, you're going to get into the habit of doing less and less emails, and you're not going to be coaching yourself to come up with a reason to send emails, and you won't be thinking about what you need to have in your emails, and your emails will generally be random. If your emails are random, people will have a tendency to not follow you or delete them when they get them. At minimum, what I recommend is at least send an email list once per month. What I like to do is start out once per month. If you are getting some sort of response to that, maybe do it once every 2 weeks. And if the response is still strong, there's nothing wrong with sending one email a week. I would not schedule as a habit more than one email per week. People will have a tendency to kind of just zone out and block you and not read the emails. When you're sending emails, make sure that you don't use too many graphics or too many photos. Remember that people are using mobile devices to read email now, and the number of graphics and photos that you put into your email can hamper their data bandwidth. It can slow down the email when it gets to their phone. So generally keep it text heavy. Use well-placed graphics or a well-placed photo to get a point across, but try not to overload your emails with photos or graphics. Once you are done sending your email, take a look at your statistics. Find out how many people open your emails. Most third-party email systems will have some sort of statistics with it, so then you can see how many emails you sent, how many of them were opened, and sometimes you can even see what time of the day people open them. So it's kind of nice when I send out the Main Street Mountjoy email, I know that some of you check it right away. I know some of you don't check it till Wednesday or Thursday, and I know some of you don't check it at all, so you're probably not even listening to this video. What you want to do is try out different styles of emails. Every time you write an email, there's going to be something that works and something that doesn't work. Eventually, you will find some sort of system that works for your customers. So don't be discouraged if you send a lot of emails and they don't always get opened. This is something that you're going to be doing on a regular basis. So some people have a busy week. Sometimes they don't check email. Sometimes they're on vacation. It could be that maybe their email system is blocking you temporarily, and then eventually you'll get through. So don't be worried if people aren't checking your email. It could just be the way that you write your emails. So think of different ways of writing it. Maybe have a different headline, come up with a catchy subject. Just try different things until you get a good response rate. And when you're sending your email, try to include some kind of special, some kind of promo, or another reason for people to actually come into your business. Maybe you want to have them print out your email and bring it in, or mention a code. Always use some kind of code if you're going to be selling something. So if you're doing buy one, get one free, make sure they mention a code, or make sure if they buy something online on your website that you have some kind of code that they can use from the email, and then you can track how many people are actually using that email and that code to increase your sales. And then put that in your customer data bank that we're working on and track it. It's going to be good to see how successful you really are with that promo code. So let's talk about direct mail. Sometimes I think the only mail I get at my house is direct mail. It's all these ads that we get from people. It's random letters that we get that are computer generated. They are large postcards with advertisements on them. So contrary to popular belief, direct mail is not dead. It is decreasing each year, but it is still somewhat of an effective means of doing marketing. One thing I do want to caution you is when you do direct mail, don't expect a huge response rate. Response rates used to be about 10% for direct mail. In the past year or two, they have fallen down to 2% to 5%, depending on how clean your list is. If you are buying a list and you are going out to a third-party list generating company and you're asking them to provide you a list of people that live in a certain zip code, and you have had no relation with these customers before, you're going to be closer to the 2% rate of response when you send a direct mail. If you are dealing with customers on a regular basis, your response rate could be much higher than 5%, but you do want to make sure that your list is clean and that you do have some kind of relationship with people to get the best response rate from your direct mail. A key point: try not to design these direct mail items yourself. There are marketing companies that are specialized in direct mail, And I would really recommend that if you were going to do the direct mail route, have a direct mail marketing firm design your direct mail piece. They do it a lot. They have a tendency to know what works and what doesn't work. And let them tell you how to design a piece once you tell them what your goal of the direct mail piece is. I found that you get a lot more success using a marketing firm that does deal with direct mail than trying to design it yourself or using a traditional advertising firm that doesn't do a lot of direct mail. Put a little bit more money into it by finding one of these firms. And if you need help with it, let us know. Main Street can help you find some advertising firms that do have direct mail experience. Keep in mind that direct mail costs are going to be fairly high. And by fairly high, I mean because of your low response rate, your costs are going to be eaten up by the design and the mail of the direct mail piece. Think about the type of direct mail piece you want to send and the amount of mail you want to send. Take a look at your budget and find out if direct mail really is something that you can fit into your budget. Keep in mind that if you have a low percent rate, and let's say it's even as high as 10%, think about how many sales you might generate from that response rate and really weigh it and see if direct mail is something that you want to get into. I found that when I do direct mail pieces with clients, oversized envelopes seem to work. They get a little bit of a higher response rate, and oversized postcards also get a little bit of a better result. But overall, direct mail is not going to give you, like I said, a huge response rate. Whatever you do with direct mail, make sure that you do use some kind of code to track sales from any direct mail pieces. You're not going to have any other way of tracking whether someone's using that direct mail piece unless you have them bring it into your store or have some kind of code that you can use to track sales. And then at the end, you want to weigh it and you want to see if the amount of money that you spent on your direct mail piece did actually generate the number of sales that you were hoping, and did it pay for itself. So let's say you're not big into technology and you don't want to do email lists. You think it's going to take too much time. Or maybe your customers don't even have an email. What if you don't want to do direct marketing because it's too expensive? The other thing you can do is just come up with a new promotion. Now that you know what your customers like and what has been selling in your business, you can use that information to generate new promotions to increase sales. One thing you could do is focus on having a promotion already on the most purchased items in your business. So if you are a restaurant and your chicken dishes are selling well, have a promotion about it. Talk about how great your chicken dishes are. Come up with another chicken dish to add to the other chicken dishes you already have. If you are a bar and dark beer is selling well, why not expand your dark beer selection? If there's a certain company that has been selling well, offer new alternatives in that company. If you are we'll say a retail store and you're selling candles, if there's a scent of candles that are selling well, expand upon that scent. If coconut is selling well, maybe you could do a tropical or a fruity theme, and you can have scents on lemons and mangoes and pineapples and tropical mist or whatever the scents are for those candles. Some people think that having a promotion, it means you have to discount your price or offer 2 for 1 or offer something free as a promotion. Promotion doesn't necessarily mean you have to discount your price, and it doesn't mean that you have to give things away. A promotion could just be talking about how great your products are and making people realize what you have that they didn't realize before. And by focusing the conversation on a certain item or a certain style of items, you are promoting those items. And they should generate in new sales, provided you did your homework and you actually know what items are the ones that are selling well. Can you add value to the items? Is there something that you can add extra to your promotion that will encourage more sales? if you did want to do a discount or you did want to, throw something in there, is there a small item that you can sell as a bonus if someone buys 2 or more of the same thing? I know in the restaurant industry, one thing you could do is offer a free dessert for 2 entrees purchased at full price. Or if you're selling candles, buy 2 candles, get 1 at half off. You'll see all these sales, especially at holiday time, this time of the year at Christmas. There's nothing saying that you can't do this in January, February, March, or even June, July, and August. And then think about other items that are similar to your high sale items. Are there other items that you can bring into your store or into your restaurant or bar that would pair well with the current items that are high selling? So as an example, when I do a bowl show, I know that people really like deep, dark walnut bowls. And if I happen to have a lot of walnut in my shop, I will purposely make extra bowls so when I have a show, I already know those bowls are going to sell if I put them on a table. If I know that I put a picture on Facebook and one of my bowls gets, high comments, I know I'm going to sell that at the show. So if I have wood that's similar to that, I'll go ahead and make a couple extra bowls. It's the same thing in your retail business or your restaurant or your bar. Think about what items are selling well and promote those items and similar items, and you should also increase your sales. So this is going to be something new to a lot of people. I'm always excited to talk about this. I think it's a very underutilized tool in marketing, and that is mapping. I was introduced to mapping probably about 20 to 25 years ago in one of my businesses that I worked in. Someone had given me a list of customers and said, hey, we just want to find out where these customers live. And back then I was able to take a map and actually pinpoint on the map where people lived for this business. And I found it fascinating because we discovered that people lived in a certain neighborhood or within 10 miles of the business. And we found that there were potentials to bring in new customers just looking at a map and visually pointing out where your customers are. And I've always done mapping for the past 25 years for my customers. And I'll tell you a couple of stories a little bit later on, but this is something I really think is one of the, again, underutilized things of marketing. Main Street Mountjoy is really eager to help you guys with this if you're interested in doing this. So what can you do with mapping? Now that you have your names, and if you have the addresses, and really mapping only works if you have the addresses. If you have the addresses of your customers, you can generate a map and you can pinpoint on that map where every one of your customers live. Now just think about that. Have you ever visually seen where all of your customers live on a map? When you see it, it is mind-blowing because it really puts into perspective where your customers live. When you're mapping things, you can map out in different segments. You can also map out who your top customers are. So let's say you take your top 10%. Wouldn't it be fascinating to find out if your top 10% customers all lived within the same neighborhood? Can you think about what you could do with that data? I bet if you knew where your top 10 customers lived and found out they all lived in the same neighborhood, you might want to drive to that neighborhood. Wouldn't you want to find out what that neighborhood looks like? Wouldn't you want to find out a little bit more information about that neighborhood? Do you know that there are tools in place now on the internet that are free that you can actually find out what homes and the owners of those homes are in a neighborhood? So if you know that people live in Donegal Heights, you can find out who everyone is that lives in Donegal Heights. So you can really do a direct marketing piece. Or you can go out to their house and you can knock on their doors and you can introduce yourself to them and do more of a grassroots campaign and bring people to your store. If you know what people bought and you have their addresses, you can also map out where your items were sold. Or if you're a restaurant, where do people live that like to eat your chicken? So think about that. Mapping is one of these powerful, powerful tools that you can use. And the thing is, no one uses it. I would really love to bring mapping into the Mount Joy community. What would you do if you could find out that if your current customers live in a certain neighborhood, and let's say there are only 5% of the people that live in that neighborhood, but they are your top selling customers, wouldn't you love to find out how many other potential customers live in that same neighborhood? That's what mapping can do for you. And with the right mapping software, you can also figure out the general income of the housing in the neighborhoods. You can find out the ages of the homes, how much people bought their homes for. It's really a lot of information that you can get from mapping, and you can go kind of crazy with it. And it's something I think that if people really used, it would become one of their most favorite ways of doing marketing analysis. And then the other thing you want to think about is mapping your competition against where your customers live. So here's a story for you. When I worked at Wilton Armitel, one of my special projects for about 8 or 9 months was taking every sale that the customers had over a 15 to 16 month period and mapping it out around the entire United States. And then what we did was we were able to track what department stores sold what items in what neighborhoods. And then we were able to give all that data to the department stores, and we knew exactly what items to put into the department stores because we knew what the neighborhoods were buying. We even put small independent retailers on the map, and we would tell them what was selling in the department stores so they could be competitive with department stores. By the time we were done, we had every single sale of that organization mapped out in the United States. It took a long time. It took 8 or 9 months, but you're talking a multi-million-dollar company. With most small businesses, I can map out sales within a couple of hours and get you a map and show you exactly where your customers live, provided you have the data on where they live, provided you have all your customer data. So another example to tell you is I worked as a consultant for an entertainment company, and they sold rental space for their entertainment venue. And they had a list of their customers that came and rented the space for various reasons. Weddings and dinners, corporate events, pretty much anything you could think of for rental. And I was able to show them they had a customer base along a certain highway in a certain state. I won't tell you where the company is. We were able also to map out where their competition was, and we did direct mail specifically to people who lived along a highway in a state and increased their business by 30% based on doing targeted marketing, already knowing the mapping data of where their current customers were. I did the same thing for a wedding venue. A wedding venue wanted to know where their marketing was being successful. So I took a look at the past 5 years of their bride and grooms, and we took a look at where the bride and grooms were living independently, and we mapped out where all of the bride and grooms lived and showed them that the money that they were putting in advertising was being wasted because they were advertising in certain areas in the United States where less than 5% of their customers were coming from. The majority of their customers were coming within 25 miles of their venue, and they weren't doing any advertising within 25 miles of the venue. So we switched up their advertising. We started advertising within 25 miles of the venue, and we increased their business probably 20 to 25% in a year and a half, because we were actually advertising to where their customers lived. They decided to stop advertising at big dollar volume in the higher cities, and we saved them some money and also increased their revenues. And this was all done through mapping. So this is why I think mapping is one of the most underused technologies, and it's something I really think people want to do. And if you're willing, I'd love to use one of you guys as a case study and I will keep it all confidential and make it general, but to show everybody what we could do with mapping and show you where your customers live. I think it'll be fascinating. If anyone has that data, give me a call. I'd really love to work with you on this. So what are we going to talk about next week? Next week I really want to focus on email marketing. So what I want to do is start breaking it down into a little more details, and I want to talk about if you're going to be doing email marketing. How do you use email marketing effectively? How do you craft a really good email marketing piece? What kind of third-party email services can you use? And I'll probably use MailChimp as an example. I'm very familiar with all the email marketing third-party systems, but I really do like MailChimp. I think it's very easy to use. And then we're going to take a look at email marketing statistics. So I'll show you some of the statistics from the Main Street Mount Joy emails that we do, and I'll show you what I look at in the email statistics to see if my emails are being effective. And then I do want to promise a little bit more on mapping. What I want to do is show you some maps that I put together for some customers, kind of show you how I walk through the data, and then how I would analyze a map and show you how I know the data that we can get from the maps and what we would do with the data and how it would impact your business. So stay tuned. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I'm enjoying putting them together, and I hope you're using some of the information I'm sending you. Thank you.